Hey guys, welcome to our review of Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 7, Dominion, referring to the Dominion War. And in this episode in particular, the villains' motivations. We're finally getting some reveals on why these changelings have wanted to capture the dead body of Jean-Luc Picard to mess around with it. What exactly is going on with Jack, though there's still some mystery there. We the episode doesn't completely answer that, but it definitely gives us a lot of backstory to Vadic and her character. And I gotta say, the actress playing Vadic, she is just having so much fun. She is nailing it, and it is ridiculous. It is over dramatic. It is chewing scenery, but somehow it fucking works. She's a great actress, and I wish I'd seen her more stuff. So she is killing it in this series. I can just, I'm just fascinated whenever she's doing her bits. And the team basically sort of hatch a plan. They are trying their best to contact Starfleet and get some fucking help and let them know your plan is fucking stupid of having all the goddamn ships in one location. And they're not listening. And so we get several cameos. We get a brand new cameo. Somebody that actually blindsided me. I never thought that this person would return. Tuvok is back. And I'm a big fan of Voyager. So this is the first time Tuvok has been playing Tuvok, the actual Tuvok, since like the 90s. And so it's really, really cool to see. Yeah, well, Joe, he's been in Star Trek a lot, playing other different characters and things like that. But to see him return was a great joy. Though technically he's not really playing Tuvok, but maybe we'll get to see him in the future. So I love that scene. We also get more lore data. What do we call it? Data lore. I forgot what we were going to call him. More. But actually they minus a bit of more and sort of distill it down to just data lore. This by-mind duality. And then finally, basically do a little bit of shield wall capturing of the villain. And it's like, okay, so we can't get any help. Let's do it ourselves. And they do it themselves, and it kind of blows up in their face a little bit. So we are at, traditionally in a storytelling, our lowest point by the end of this episode, and this is episode 3, so we have 3 more episodes to resolve this. But overall, I thought a very good setup for, kind of getting our villain Vadic back into action and putting our crew at the lowest point so that they will have to overcome things, and how they resolve it is going to be interesting to see. Let's hear from, let's go with Alex.
Yeah, I like this one. There was some good stuff in here. I don't like the lore stuff. I think it was used in a kind of poopy way. I understand why they did it without the whole lore being the agent of chaos and fucking up all the plans. You don't get LeVar Burton's amazing emotional scene where he finally gets some closure with Data, which was super appropriate. I really love seeing that. So as much as I don't like Lord just being the agent of chaos and I'm gonna do all, it's just like I want the disasters to feel more earned. I want the victories to feel more earned, and that one didn't do it for me. But it did set up that amazing scene with LeVar Burton, so I really appreciated that. And I think this was solid. You don't want to be constantly going saying the same thing, but this is a Rafi-free episode, and I'm not gonna.
Oh my god! I completely forgot about Rafi.
I really like this one, and so it's like I'm not saying it's because I think Rafi found her slot in the last couple times where she was just a good supporting character, but I'm just gonna point out not here.
Her and Rafi, or her and Worf. Aren't even in this episode. In fact, it was a little confusing because there's a line dropped about it where it's like, okay, they're off doing this at some kind of station or so. It's like, wait a minute, did you drop them off? Are they on the ship at a computer researching, or did you literally drop them off? And it's like, well, no,
Hopefully
keep the crew together.
Well,
Rafi,
not
Worf.
Yes.
Keep Worf.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Alex, is that all?
Yeah, I mean, they have to go off, explore where Riker is, and Riker showed up in the halfway point of the episode anyway, so.
I'm liking this episode. I like the tension. I like in the beginning, they're trying to find out who their allies are, and a little bit of the changeling. Whenever he's like, well, where's Riker? He turns into the dead version of Riker.
Oh, that was
I'm like,
creepy,
I
yeah.
like that visual. It's like, oh shit, he's dead or whatever.
The changeling can
false hope and
definitely mimic, like taunt the fuck out of
Yeah,
you.
I like that. I like the emotional scene between Geordi and Data. That was pretty fucking cool. The thing I'm kind of nitpicking, I guess, is Jack's powers. What's going on? Because she kind of like took over her body. So I was like, okay, is that a new thing that he does now?
Yeah, it's not even clear to us as the viewer what's going on. Is he making telepathic suggestions, or is
Because
he
he's
literally
he was doing the
controlling
moves,
her
right?
body?
Yeah, he was doing the
Look,
moves.
Professor X is his dad. What did you expect? Of course it was going to happen.
So okay, just that. But overall, I liked it, and Vadic is just making this episode fun.
Yes, Vadic definitely is. Yeah, and that's big, actually. Joe referred to it. We never really get to see Geordi's reaction to Data's death in Picard season, whatever. And this time, so they pay that off here. It's good. LeVar Burton's a great actor, and he still got it. And so we get a little bit of that payoff here as he makes an appeal to Data's love. And which is funny, and it makes sense within lore. You're like, oh, this is ridiculous. No, even lore was like, I love you, brother, before he tried to turn. Of course, it was probably just a play to get Data to not disable him. But, I loved the subtleness in, his performance when you see it's like he's still lore, but then he's thinking about all the things, and he's like, all right, I'll let you finish because I like you telling me this. And, it kind of makes a click in his brain over to Data to stop fucking with them. Because lore shows at the worst part, because they have this plan, and the plan actually goes pretty well. They pretend to be disabled in a previous battle, tricking them, and even one of the changelings is like, "Hey, let's not. This might be a trap." She's like, "But he's right there. I'm gonna go get him."
I could kind of hand wave that because, like, in the beginning, you kind of see, he's like, you have to do this or I will fucking torture you.
Yeah, so that's
she's like in
another-
her panic mode. Is like, oh, we got to do this. So I kind of forgive that.
Yeah, we realized the main villain is not a changeling. Specific words used are "you and your kind." Well, maybe still a changeling because she is a
altered.
sect. She's an altered, genetically engineered version of the changelings, which we find out later. But I'm still thinking that maybe the main villain is a level above changelings. I don't know why he looks the way he looks, but, if this is just a visual representation, it doesn't actually look that way on the other end. I don't really know. But you're right. There's a lot of urgency on her end to get shit done. So she's getting a little more careless. But boy, is she fun when you get her in a cage and she's trying to figure out, you got what to do. She saw the bad cop, good cop incoming, and she made fun of it, and it was funny. But yeah, so their plan actually succeeds. Very clever in order to use these force fields to trap them and act as bait. Unfortunately, lore starts fucking with things right then.
They have him plugged into the computer where he can take control, and even though they had turned him off, he turned himself on. And
Probably
like
not
hand
do
waving.
that while you're enacting a plan. Just
Yeah.
unplug him. That way there's no risk because, lore is a wild card, and I thought that initially when I first watched it, I was like, why are they even, why don't they have him restrained? Because fucking Data and Lore are strong as fuck. And if Lore wants to be like, no, fuck you, he could start doing that. But there was a line tossed in there. I'm like, all right, I see you, Star Trek. Because Geordi was like, communications only or something like that. It was like just talking only instead of motor functions where Lore will just pick you up and throw you across the ship. But eventually he takes over the computer and starts disabling these shields, which leads to a little bit of a subplot here between Jack and LaForge. What's her name? Sharon something. I forget her name,
Really?
but they seem to have a little bit of a love interest thing going on, maybe a little crushing on each other. I saw this. I predicted this. It was either between her or Seven, and it looks like they're doing it with her because he's like flirting with her. I think in the turbo lift, these feelings are somewhat genuine. I'm like, But maybe he was just exploring his telepathy powers because he's like hearing it and kind of, seeing it. But I do think that there's something there that he does legitimately like her and stuff. So she's put in danger when these force fields go down, and then he uses his red eyes for good once, right? Every single time we see him use these red eyes powers, kind of murderous and with malintent and betraying the crew and all this stuff. But here, he's actually able to use it for good, which shows you that, this may not be a bad thing. This could be used for good. What the hell this is, I don't fucking know, because I thought, is he, we thought previously, is he changeling? Is he genetically modified?
Yeah.
But no, this doesn't answer any of this. I have one theory, and we'll talk about it later after we score the episode and do the breakdown. But all really good setup. Darkest point. Now we got to figure out what to do from here. So love the cameos. Love how this is basically a TNG, and not only TNG, but good Star Trek parade. We're playing with things that are good from Star Trek. We're playing with the Dominion War, which was good from DS9. We're playing with the good characters from Voyagers, Tuvok and 7 of 9, hence the Janeway. We're taking the original cast. We're getting them back together. TNG, the best parts. People are acting like they should. Geordi is perfect. Worf, all these things are good. And we are minimizing the damage that had been done in previous seasons by Ravi and some of these new characters that you don't really care about. So I don't know what to call it. It is a send-off season, right? Because that was the intent. It's like, all right, season 3, we're going to give you what you want. We're going to resolve these characters' kind of stories, and then they can go off and do either Star Trek Legacy with a new generation. I don't know how they plan to resolve it, but so far it's unfolding in a satisfying way. Although with the shit covering of dark lens flares in this episode, they really cranked up those lens flares. It's in my eye. I was like, ah! All right, we get it. And the style. And I noticed, I watched some TNG recently. Like the camera still, they love to like bounce the camera here. Very subtle bounces and Dutch angles and things like that, Battlefield Earth. Anyways, I really liked it. So let's go with final verdicts.
I'm going to go with an 8. I really liked this episode. It was good. Great acting, emotional. I like the tension. I'm honestly excited to see the next episode.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it.
How do they get out of here? Because by the end, where are we? What happens?
Everyone is captured. Yeah. She takes over the Titan. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to do now? Mm-hmm. Is Jack going to have new superpowers? Force lightning?
Mm-hmm.
So, great. I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a really, really fun episode. It reminds me of, if you're going to stretch out TNG over an entire season rather than, a two-parter or a single episode thing, I think this is the way that you should have done it from the start. So I like what's going on here. I don't like some of the things that they do to like drive conflict, like having Lore connected to the computer and not having him shut down and restrained and all those things is kind of silly. They can hand wave it with like, oh, it's more art than science. It's like I don't like that. Let's get away from that. Let's go back into the science aspect of things. And I'm getting whiffs of superpowers and chosen one shit that I don't necessarily like. I
was wondering if Alex is going to bring it back up because I think he's right. I think that we're going somewhere there.
Chosen one shit is something that I think belongs in certain types of media. I think fantasy works really, really well for that kind of stuff. And this is not where I want to see it. So I'm curious to see how they explain away if he was exposed to something way back in the day. They'll pick some ancient TNG episode that everyone forgot and something infected him and they need whatever it ends up being. As of right now, I'm getting little whiffs of things that I don't like because I don't like that.
Talk about Picard or Jack?
Picard, because Picard clearly passed the thing down because the condition that Picard had is passed down to him, and they said that his diagnosis it may have been inappropriate. So
that is fucking huge. It was one line dropped.
It was one line drop saying that your brain condition actually may have been misdiagnosed or misunderstood. It's passed on to Jack.
Picard didn't actually die from that condition.
Yeah,
but then what did he die from?
he's fucking 100 years old.
I don't know. They're gonna do something with the blood, like Alex is saying.
I don't want
Please
blood
don't,
magic.
please.
I don't want Chosen One stuff. But I think this episode is really solid. I think that if we get, I mean, they're talking about, hey, would you want to see Picard season 4? I don't think they're doing it. But like, this is the kind of stuff that I'd want to see if I was gonna start watching New Trek, which I probably won't. But like, this kind of stuff is solid, and so good on you.
I need a score verdict.
We did. Yeah, we both gave it an 8.
Oh, I missed it. So what I'm thinking here is absolutely an 8 out of 10 as well. Performances, very good. Setups, very good. Story, gets you interested in the story. Reveals stuff without revealing too much to keep, some cards close to the chest. And giving our crew a huge problem to solve. And everybody's going to need to come up with, be their best selves in order to get out of it. So a great challenge and, and a little over-the-top villain, but it's fun. I like Vadic. I certainly like Vadic more than fucking Tom Hardy as, Picard. I forget what his name. Anyways, it's fun. And we're going to have to see how it resolves. It could resolve like Alex is thinking, where it's like this blood or this something and hereditary is passed down, and I don't like that. But I have one theory which hopefully they'll go this way instead of another way. Now, you have to watch the end of Deep Space Nine. I've been saving Deep Space Nine to watch, because we're making, me and my girl, making the way through Star Trek, so we're going to save that. So I know roughly what happens to Cisco, and I think that all this is really tying into that.
There has been very little DS9 characters at all in this series so far, so maybe we're saving it for the end.
For the end. Well, there's the whole thing is DS9.
Yeah, but the characters,
Dominion and Changeling, but yeah, characters. They're gonna. I think they're saving that big impact, and I am now convinced, if this is right, that Cisco will appear at some point. So. Anyways, 8 out of 10 as well. Let's go into the episode breakdown and then talk about the theories that I think it may kind of, unfold in that particular way. Is that all? Did you guys want to say anything else?
No.
Okay, so let's go into the episode breakdown. So what do we start off with? We start off with them in a battlefield. This exact scrapyard and junkyard was... a lot of the ships that died or exploded in the Dominion War. So we're tying into that. And here we have the Tuvok scene. And well done, because, they're trying to scan him. They're trying to voice analyze him. It's not really working too well. She does a clever play where, and this would happen on Voyager. 7-9's a fucking Borg, and her brain is like a fucking data thing, and it's fucking, Tuvok is super smart, Vulcan brain and everything, so they would play, and she would win. And he's like, he was mad about that, because he's supposed to win. And so when she brings those games up, and he does acknowledge that, she wins, she's like, all right, that's him. But very cleverly, it's a double trap, she said. She said, okay, you passed the first one, but I'm going to lay another one for you. And she says, I went to some station or planet and got, my pieces fixed and my mind reformed. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's cool, too. And she's like, motherfucker, no, I was lying. You were the one that repaired me, not some random people on some planet. And he was like, oh, fuck. And he starts smiling. He's like, yeah, you got me. I'm a changeling.
Where's Riker?
Where, yeah.
Then he changes into the dead
version. Of Picard's like, God damn, fucking, I'm tired of being jerked around. Just fucking tell me where Riker is. He's like, And so they keep intercepting all the transmissions, and, so they can't get help from Starfleet. They realize, hey, we're alone. Then what happens?
Geordi has a weird line here that I was been chewing on it. I don't like it. Geordi's like, maybe we should just give up.
I did notice that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did he? I thought he would have a reason, and it's like, let's refocus our area in a different way. But no, he just was like, maybe we should give up. I was like, what?
Like, give up on the search for Riker. And so the issue is, like, the people of the main cast know that Jack is the linchpin to setting up the fall of the Federation in 36 hours period. They know that.
Yeah.
They could just be running in a single direction for 36 hours and then come back afterwards to minimize the damage. But instead, they're trying to save Riker. I don't know. It was kind of awkward.
I don't know why he did it like that, because we just literally the last episode went through an arc where Geordi's like, I don't want to help, and then at the end he's like, man, I was ashamed of myself that I said I didn't want to help. Let's do this. And then in this episode, well, maybe we should give up. Geordi, shut the fuck up. And I know LeVar Burton's like, hey, man, I didn't write that line. I just had to say that. I wouldn't have said that. I tried to tell him, don't put that in there, and they used that take, and I'm mad at him. That's what I think. Because it didn't really match up. Now, keep going.
And so they move on from that, and then that's when they start getting they get a signal from Riker. It's a captain's signal, and because he was at one point captain of the Titan, they ping them, and he's able to kind of figure it out, and then the Shrike shows up.
Well, you skipped. Let's go back. What happens before that?
I don't know what happens.
Oh, Data Lore. Data
yeah,
Lore
fuck
scene.
Data Lore.
So we had, basically Geordi plugs the motherfucker in.
He plugs him into the ship and gives him
computer.
complete. He's like, "Oh, I shut off his body. He can't do anything." And it's like, "Oh, never mind. He can turn himself on." And
Yeah.
he's plugged into the computer.
And
to
Picard
take over
comes in.
Betrayals.
They try to get more information, basically. And he's being a little bit of a dick because he's going back. Captain, it is good to see you. Old fuck.
Yeah.
Time has been really bad to
Wait a
you.
minute.
I'm looking way better than you are at our age. It's like, wait a minute.
I like that Geordi's daughter comments like, "Is he always so arch? Are you always such a piece of shit?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's been overacting since the 90s."
What's with the slang in Star Trek? I was like, Arch? Oh, is that what cool kids say these days? Oh, you Arch? Do you mean, like, is he always a dick? Do you mean, like, he's always a villain? No, you're Arch. Arch, what is that? Arch Nemesis? I don't get it. Anyways, so, yeah. So he plays with him, and we learn in this scene that before, we're not going to constantly go between three. I was like, the Moore character that we were talking about, I was like, that's going to be so fucking annoying where he goes, baby talk, why does the tall man have a fuzzy beard or, fuzzy face? Because that's kind of the way B4 was. He was a child and he had to develop, but he wasn't there yet because he's not as, advanced as Lore and Data. Thankfully, they say, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to write that out.
Good.
It's just memory chip.
no.
So we're not talking about B4 no more. It is really just between Lore and Data. And these are themes, actually, that was, I think, even explored in the first Star Trek movie. And even some episodes of the original series with Kirk. That, Kirk's kind of aggressive side, or when he turned evil or something, it is a source of strength. So you can take an evil side of you or a bad side of you and sort of tame it and then use it, and the duality of that eventually can mold yourself into a more complete person. So I'm curious if this is kind of how they were going to approach this in the future. They've talked about that kind of stuff in the past. So we're just going to jump between Lore and Data, that presents a villain, and I was like, oh, cool. So we'll get an actual Lore villain at some point in this season, which maybe not. Maybe this was the moment where he just does his thing, and then Data takes over, and then maybe are they setting this up for future seasons? Because that's what I was saying. It's like, but are we doing season 4? No, we're not. But maybe they might throw Data in, I don't know, Star Trek Legacy or whatever they were going to do and have this sort of duality thing. Because quite clearly, they're like, that isn't the Data that asked to be killed or asked to be let go and die. This is a Data from a memory before that. So almost a new character, almost a new Data. And then what they're doing here is they say, I think they're implying that we're taking Lore here to make Data more human. You know what I mean? Because humans are dicks, so it makes sense.
Especially these humans. The Federation, again, in this episode is painted like a bunch of incompetent shitheads that are torturing people, and it's even worse than in previous seasons.
So, yeah, I wanted to talk about that, is that at one point, Beverly and Picard have a scene when they fucking trap...
Vadic.
Or actually, I think did they talk about it a little bit before? They're like, she's like, I took the Hippocratic oath, and I'm not going to harm people and stuff. Even though we started the season with Beverly, like, machine gunning.
Those weren't people.
The
Changeling
Joe
individuals.
changelings,
Li-
racist,
liquid lines.
speciesist. Yeah, and so I don't know how I feel about this because Alex, I think they were implying that the Picard and Beverly were going to turn around and just straight up fucking murder her before the shields went down, and I'm like, no, man. Picard would be like, no, okay, I can't do that, but I got to find a different way. But I think they were implying, let's fucking kill her.
I thought so too.
I thought so too.
Yeah, I was like,
So
all right,
this is
let's
a
get
much
ready.
darker version of Beverly and
She's
Picard, and we're just
tired,
gonna
all right?
throw out what makes those
She's fucking
characters.
tired of
I
being
know.
chased.
I know.
I'm like, this is it. You've
No,
been
I get
chasing me,
Beverly.
my son.
Sure.
Fuck this shit.
I get Beverly, and maybe we can chalk it up to Picard's positronic brain had a little malfunction. Let's fucking murder this bitch.
Oh, they set him to
Right
murder
now.
like a Chucky doll. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, she talked about in the beginning of the episode where it's like, look, we made the virus, and there may be a way for me to figure out who the changelings are, but I'm gonna have to go through it via their biology, and that presents a bit of a gray area. And Picard's like, fucking do it, come up with it is, and then we'll decide how bad it is at the time.
He does. He says,
Yeah.
We'll deal with it at that time. So either they're gonna murder them, or she's gonna create a virus that specifically for this strand of changeling and murder them. So we'll have to deal with that in the future. I hope they don't just hand wave away that Picard was about to shoot her in the back of the head. So yeah, then they basically lure her in with the plan. They play possum, like they fought a Vulcan ship. I'm like, why would a Vulcan ship? Maybe a Starfleet.
Yeah, they're part of the Federation. They came in. They were the outlaws. Yeah.
And then they board the ship with a boarding party, and that's when they use the shields to section off a lot of these motherfuckers. And of course,
They don't
Jack
die,
comes
right?
out. What do you mean?
These changelings don't die?
Yeah, they could die.
Yeah, a bunch of them got vaporized.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
shot at least one or two.
There was a bunch of different shuttles. There was the first wave.
No, because I think Captain Shaw shot one in the head,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden popped up and grabbed him.
Oh yeah, they're not using the phaser power is why the one their accuracy is terrible depending on who needs to die.
That was a stupid shot.
Yeah, they do that. That is standard stuff. Where like
Okay.
He was
sometimes
the big one, Joe.
Yeah.
he was wearing
I was
armor.
like, you shot him in the face.
He was wearing armor.
well, it's not technically his face. His face could be on his elbow because he's
True.
a changeling.
Okay.
You don't
Well.
you don't know where his face is at any given
All
time.
right, I was just curious about that because I was
No,
like, I
and
don't know.
I
I
was
thought
like,
there were
that's the
different
purpose.
types.
That's the need for Star Trek to start double tapping people, because as he walked by, he could have pop pop and then not have to worry
Until he
about that.
disappears into mist like all the other ones did. Yeah.
Well, Shaw messed up a little bit. Anyways, trap him
time.
with force fields, and then we get the whole speech of Vadic. Alex, what the fuck?
So on Daystrom Station, they had captured 9 changelings, and the person that Vadic models her look after was a scientist that was torturing them and playing with their biology, and they were looking to create a weapon. They were looking to create changeling spies that could be dropped in at any given system, destabilize the section, and so Starfleet again is the most evil fucking organization ever. They're grabbing people, they're torturing them, they're trying to manipulate them into something, and they created
This was
a monster.
to win the Dominion War.
Yeah, and I mean, she didn't say for the Dominion War. She said they were trying
No,
to
it's
create.
to win. This is in the past. This is during the Dominion War.
Yeah, but they were using these ones to. She's like, they specifically tailor-made created us so that we could be spies, and they didn't need spies. And I mean, the virus. It seems like the virus was something they made separately.
Yeah, she did mention you're the perfect spies. I thought that this was, reverse engineering their genetics to try to find a good virus and this and that. But no, I think you're right. What?
They made
No, that doesn't make any sense. Why
want-
would Starfleet be helping the Dominion make the Dominion faction better at spying?
Well, they wanted not to make the Dominion
no.
faction better at spawning. They wanted to use these changelings and figure out a way to like create their own perfect spies at any given point. That
Yeah,
they're
but
like,
they're changelings. They're not gonna. Oh yeah, we like you now. We'll work for you. No.
Well, they would murder them and they would clone them, or they would do something. They were trying to create a weapon, and the weapon got turned against them. But
I don't know why they had to
Always
do it like
happens.
that. They
Always
could have do it
happens.
like I was saying it. Look, we were reverse engineered,
Yeah.
try to win the war. We fucked you up. We tortured the shit out of you. They're right. Starfleet did torture the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And she even mentions again in this episode, Starfleet didn't give us the cure. It was
Stole it.
Odo who fucking stole it and gave it to them because he's a good guy. and Starfleet, sucks.
Yeah, Starfleet is giant pile of shit, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse, which is kind of the direction that we're going. It's no longer, like this fabled thing where there's no people starving in the streets anymore. Now people are absolutely starving in the streets, and Starfleet's like, hey, you're poor. You live in the desert, and you're a crackhead, and
shit.
fuck you, Rafi. It's like, oh Jesus, okay.
Yeah, but so she's got a point, man, and so you got a little bit of a sympathy for her, and why is she so wacky, Alex? It's because she's wearing the face
of her torture.
Which
is pretty cool. I'm rooting for her. I don't like Starfleet, and I don't like any of the new Trek, so I'm hoping the Changelings win.
Yeah, if you're going to be dumb enough to put all your military in one spot when you know that there's a terrorist attack that just happened and somebody's out after you, then you deserve it.
Changelings are everywhere. They're high power, so.
Yeah, but the good thing to do is to try to stop the plot anyway and try to save everybody. So that's what our crew is trying to do. Travel with force fields. Unfortunately, that's when Lore says, fuck this, and I'm just going to see what happens. Why are you doing this? I'm just trying to survive, and plus I like chaos. And so Geordi tries to appeal to him through Data. And
yeah, because he sees his daughter's in danger, and so obviously that triggers him. He's like, please, I'm begging you, and that's when that happens.
Yeah, and we did. I guess he doesn't appeal to Lol, because we kind of forget about her because remember she was integrated too, but they're like, nah, it's just Data Lore.
Yeah, I really like that they don't do in the last episode. He's like, I am Lore. I am. Yeah, he was announcing who he is. It's like,
do that.
Please don't fucking do that.
Please don't do that. Yeah. So finally he was like, okay, so Data comes back and he helps out where he can. Unfortunately, the chaos is already happening. Jack is able to kill his guy because, he's got some kind of powers. But motherfucking LaForge's daughter is not as combat prowess as Jack is. But in a moment of desperation, he uses his red eyes on her. And she's like, why is he looking at me that way? And I guess we don't know whether he suggests the moves to her and she's doing it, or whether he's just puppet the thing. I'm gonna go with the furthest, just so that we can,
It looked like he was
so
doing
that
the
there can be
moves
drama
on
later.
his
How dare
side,
you
though.
take control of my body like that? And she even points the gun at him, like, bitch, what the fuck? Like,
that's what I
whatever.
thought too, because I thought he was doing the moves, kind of mimicking, and then whenever she was done, it's like, why did you take control of my body? What the fuck?
Yeah. And
Not
she
cool,
is,
man.
no, he did. Then you're right. He took control of her body 100%. So he's got the power's too powerful. I don't want that. I don't want it on a series where Jack is like the main. It's because then I'll just be like, well, why not just control the motherfucker right now?
Yeah,
I don't like that kind of stuff.
Exactly. As
But
soon as you introduce these powers,
I got a way.
you can't
I got a
just-
way out of it. My
Okay.
theory. Got a way out of it. Okay. So what else? After he helps her escape.
We go back to Beverly and Picard, and they're like, all right, we could track them now because we know there's some kind of organic stuff. So they're tracking them, and then Shaw comes out. It's like they're on the 9th floor or something. And then Shaw comes out.
Shaw
and then
makes the mistake of not double tapping, goes to the bridge, and then they're like, oh, fuck, more have shown up on the ship, and everybody gets ready for a battle on the bridge. And the 7 does the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen her do, where she, she turns her back, for, because one person falls out, and just,
it looked empty.
And then, yeah, Terminator style. I know they wanted it
nobody's like,
for
hey,
the shot.
turn around.
Yeah, everybody else is pointing fire.
They can't hit anything.
So there goes a point right there for
Yeah.
that one, because there were people pointed right there, and they see them coming up and they never react. Oh, it's because from this side somebody died. I rewound that thing 3 times because I was like, who fucking died? Was it like any of the characters we care about?
No.
And no, it's a lady. It's because there was a guy who went right that, but he's kind of blocking a lady that does the same. So there's 2 on the elevator, but then this one opens and the chick gets hit. It was filmed kind of poorly. That's with that shaky cam and the thing in the darkness.
It's also pitch black, yeah. So like I forgive 7 a little bit because she can't see shit because the bridge is in complete darkness.
No, I don't forgive her for turning her back on it. She knows that there's multiples in it. Anyways, so they take over the motherfucking ship.
Yep.
And Vadic is like
Making a speech.
And then she gets on the intercom. This is my ship now. And so everybody's kind of at their mercy, and they're prisoners on their own
The
ship.
4 main characters.
We've had situations like this in Star Trek before, so hopefully they'll be able to find a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 people that are free in theory, right? So Beverly is free, Jack is free, Picard is free, and then Geordi's daughter are free. But if you believe, I mean, it's just like you have to ignore the fact that the computer can do crazy things on a ship. You have to ignore the fact that transporters work and they don't have transport blockers. Because if you do, this whole episode doesn't work, and most episodes of Star Trek don't, because Vadic would just be like, "You're in the brig." And
Yeah,
just hit the
I
button.
think it's gonna be data lore that's gonna counter Vadic in the next episode. And I guess I'm pretty sure, since they didn't show it, Worf and Rafi are on a different station trying to find Riker somehow.
I think they said they're on their way back, right?
Maybe they took a shuttle.
They're
or
gonna
something.
come in and save the day.
Yeah. Well, but I think data lore is gonna do it. But okay. Anyways, so getting down to brass tacks. My best theory for this is that if we tie it into the ending of DS9, I think Jack is possessed by a Roth. Alex knows
I don't know
more
what
about
that
this
is.
than both of us, because I never, watched the episode from start to finish. It has to do with Cisco, the ending to Cisco. There's basically races even more powerful than Borg or whatever. It was the Prophets, I think. And, because they're tied into Bajorans, they're tied into the Changelings, and these Prophets obviously have a splinter faction or a rival faction called the Paul Wraiths. And Dukat at one point releases a Paul Wraith and gets possessed, because he's kind of like the villain of DS9 or the jerk of DS9, and so then it was Cisco versus this guy, but possessed by this Paul Wraith. So and then Cisco is chosen to represent these beings or whatever, the good side. So we got the bad powerful god things, and you got the good powerful god things. I think the bad powerful thing, Paul Wraiths, have somehow possessed, or Jack has come into contact and he's possessed. But maybe this Paul Wraith is a youngling or is confused, because he's not necessarily a bad guy. He can sometimes use the powers for good, and sometimes the powers are evil. So I think
he murdered those people. He didn't know they were changelings.
right. We have to tie it into Cisco, those ancient, what were they called, prophets? Alex?
Yeah, I think
So I think it's tied into prophets and the rival faction of the prophets, or Jack has a prophet in him. So whatever.
Doesn't sound like
Cisco.
Star Trek.
So you think
That's I didn't really like the whole wormhole and the beings, but it is Star Trek. They've run into plenty of god level Q. They run into plenty of this shit all the time.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, so I think that's now. The reason why they want Jack is twofold, because obviously he's got the DNA, and then we've got the DNA of Picard, and they do this hand wave. We don't just need Picard. We need Picard and Jack. I don't know why, to make the perfect Picard. So I think the final villain of the season might be a reanimated dead Picard, as look cute.
we have a reanimated
Jack's-
dead Picard. He's the star of the show.
Right.
Jack's got the powers. Picard never had anything
Right.
like that. So they're like, all right, well, let's combine both these and modify it.
Yeah, it's muddy because
Well, they need his codes, because he's going to participate in they need his to show up. So he's going to be
Force lightning everyone.
he's going to be in the parade as the fucking galaxy classes are flying, and then he'll be on the top like a tank, and then he'll force lightning everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb stuff here because they said that he's got to be DNA coded to speak, even though if Starfleet's completely taken over, no one else is going to be DNA coded. So they're just doing it for the sake that they wrote themselves into a hole. His DNA in his dead bodies is complete. They don't need Jack for whatever reason. But they did use the word extraction, I think, in this episode. I think I caught them say that. So I think they're trying to extract whatever is in his brain.
And
so
Jack? Okay.
And
then
Jack,
that,
I
that
thought
ties in more to Jack is possessed by something.
Yeah, that could be the only thing I don't get for that is did it actually possess Picard, and then when he was doing his thing, he passed it on to Beverly and it grew in because
Oh,
Picard's
that's
brain,
how we tie in.
Like-
yeah.
So he did it was a spiritual ejaculation, and
And the Wraith or the
Yeah, exactly.
Prophet.
Which Vadic, she says to Beverly, is like he was actually never yours either.
something like that.
she
Yeah,
said
there
something
was
like that.
another hint.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know how they're gonna connect it, but it's all leading to things. And so I know that they've done it a lot in Star Trek. I've never liked it. I don't like the fantasy elements when
Cisco thing.
anytime they do it in any of the series, it's just like, oh, I can smell the future. I can smell a lie. I know there's these like
It's DBZ. You want to do power level and power level, and at a certain point you get too high because you can't really go forward with it.
Yeah.
It's just getting ridiculous.
But that's why I think it's a power rate, because at the end he will be separated from the entity, and he can go on as Jack in Star Trek Legacy rather than Jack that can mind control a motherfucker if they look at him wrong, because that would ruin storytelling. Anyways, tell us what you think. Do you think it's Paraiths, prophets tied into the DS9 thing? What do you think? We got 3 episodes left, and I'm hoping that they stick the landing. But so far, so good. Another good episode, and we will see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.